Before I begin my creepy true story, here's some of your reactions, your YouTube comments from last week's video, which was called 3 Immersive POV ASMR Ghost Stories. Ashlyn McIntyre said, "Love your voice, clown, always, but whispering soft voice is always chilling. Giving Alan the ghost a pep talk, very sweet. The second story was very good. You never know what you will find in a dark garden. The third is a great cautionary tale. Lovely chillers, clown. I always enjoy your narrations, but I especially like the ones you write yourself." Ashlyn McIntyre, thanks for your wonderful comments here, always appreciated. Just don't walk to the bottom of any gardens at night. Steph said, "So atmospheric. The music in the story drew me in as if I was in the story myself. I kept my eyes closed and let myself become part of the story, with your hypnotic horror voice telling the tale." Steph, that's the best way to experience my horror work. Well done. It's great to see your comments on my channel. Tales from the Hanged Man said, "Awesome work on this one, so very atmospheric, you nail it every time." Tales from the Hanged Man, thanks so much again. I hope all is wonderful in your world. And for the rest of you, go and check out his channel. And don't just subscribe to him, watch and listen to what he does, and tell him the clown sent ya. Now, Little Lottie 69 said, "Stunning, absolutely stunning, totally in love with your ASMR voice. Your voice and story are enhanced by the creepy wind-like audio in the background. Second story had such a strong descriptive language that you transport your listener to that cold winter garden with ya. Nice to see a more gentle story. The clown showing a rare glimpse of a tender side, also giving the opportunity to show true versatility of acting and performance. Your last story, wow. Real treat to have 3 such different stories. Production giving each one individuality. Looking forward to more." Lottie 69, wow, that is a stunning response. I always look forward to your reactions to my work. And I also want to thank you, Little Lottie 69, for buying so much of my clown merchandise. Now make sure you're not going to be disturbed, because you're about to be disturbed by me. I hope you enjoy this one, because this true story really resonated with me. It's been a horrible experience and I need to share what happened. I'm not looking for help because it's not going to come. But if I tell everyone what my girlfriend and me have gone through, hopefully this house will be knocked down one day soon and they won't build on this plot of land again. It's got to be concreted over and fenced off forever. I'm talking softly just in case the bad that lives here is close to me. It might be watching me right now, sniffing in my smell, listening. Or if it's deaf, it's reading my lips. But before I go any further, you need to know about my biggest hate. The time I stand up and take action is towards men who beat up women. I hate cowards, there's no excuses. You'll understand later why I had to mention that now. Getting back on track, you might have heard, read or believe that buildings have personalities. Well, I can confirm they do. Think about it. Next time you walk in a building you've never been in before, just stop and be aware how the building makes you feel. When I walk into a cinema, I'm excited because the lights dim, and in the darkness I'm about to be taken on a visual ride. And as a contrast, when I walk in a business office, it makes me feel cold, surgical, because some offices have muted colours painted on the walls and there's a general feeling of boring. When me and Jackie went looking for a home, we explored 17 properties. We knew what we wanted. And the thing is with me, when I walk into a new home, old home, whatever, I know within a few seconds if it feels right. It's like love at first sight for me. And if it feels right, we put an offer in. Some of the places we saw initially looked really inviting in their photographs, but when inside, they were in a pretty bad state. They either needed a lot of work or the rooms were claustrophobic. I honestly think here in the UK years ago people must have been pretty small because many room sizes are just not fit for purpose. And then me and Jackie came across 51 Avenue Road. It was the 17th property we looked at. It was ready to move in, no work needed to be done. I fell in love with the place. I liked its vibe. Jackie needed a little longer time before saying yes, but come the afternoon, she agreed with me. One thing I always do is that when I see a home I'm about to buy, I knock on the neighbours' doors to see what the neighbours are like. And if first impressions are not good, I won't buy, I'll walk. I'm good like that. I'm always right about people. So we offered the full asking price because we noticed there were many couples waiting outside to take a look inside. We had a smooth move. Everything was so good for the first 3 weeks. Life was complete. We had enough space to breathe, and our garden was great for parties and barbecuing. And then on the 4th week, the rot started to settle in. Jackie was gradually irritating me. I'll give you an example. While chilling out after work, I noticed tiny things that I didn't like. I was in the bedroom reading on our bed and I could hear the ticking sound of her watch. Why didn't she leave it somewhere else? Saying this is so pedantic of me, but quiet times are important to me. I told her how I felt and she called me a pedantic wanker, and looking back she was so right. And then she'd get up every night around 3 in the morning to go for a pee. Usually I sleep through it, but for some reason in this new house she woke me up. So I suggested she stop drinking fluids from about 7:30 to 8 p.m, so that might stop her from waking me up. She told me to F off, and looking back, yeah, I was picking on her. I've never been like that to her, never. And my pedanticness got worse. One evening it was her turn to cook and the fish was cold. She said she must have cooked it on the wrong setting. Instead of me understanding like I normally would, I went crazy on her. I screamed at her. I called her a stupid idiot. I'm sure that's what came out of my angry mouth. And when she called me a nasty, spiteful little man, I slapped her. There was a silence in the room. A shock to both of us that made time stand still. I stared at her, not believing what I just did. And she stood there with hate in her crying eyes. She then went for me. Oh yeah, she could pack a punch, I can tell ya. She left that night and stayed at a friend's house, where I just sat in darkness, trying to figure out what my problem is. Jackie couldn't give a toss when I told her that I sat on our bed sobbing like a little kid for hours. She returned home the next day and we didn't speak to each other for the following 48 hours. The thing is, in my head at the time, I wasn't sorry. And then just as we started talking again, we were eating at the table and I asked her not to text and to turn her phone off because I cooked for her. She ignored me and I just got up, went for her phone and smashed it against the wall. When she tried to leave the room with me going silly, pedantic, crazy, I stopped her from leaving the room. I grabbed hold of her. She said I was hurting her arms and I squeezed tighter. My mind was twisted back then because I remember actually enjoying being violent. It was like a release for me, and I don't drink. I don't take drugs. I let off steam down at the gym, but now being aggressive and violent to the one I love was waking me up to how much power I have. The arguments between us continued for a few more days. She wanted so desperately to try and save our 7 years of love and support, but me at the time, I couldn't care less. At the time, I'd kick the bitch to the curb. My feelings for her turned to rust. Now I know the poor girl hadn't done anything wrong. Seriously, it was all me. Nothing to do with work, nothing to do with fancying another woman. I wasn't taking any medication. Everything came to a head, and a few days after Jackie moved out, I became obsessed looking at humiliating and violent images online. I upped the weights I was lifting in the gym. I had so much energy, so much testosterone. And then a letter arrived, and my world caved in. I have the letter here, and I'm going to read it to you. Please forgive this written response. I would have preferred to talk to you in person, but I'll explain later in this letter while I'm unable to. My name is Erica from the Domestic Violence Charity. I've been working locally for over 10 years, and I met your dear partner Jackie last week. After our first confidential chat, Jackie kindly filled out the personal information form, and then I recognised your home address, and everything clicked into place. You're the fourth couple that have lived in that house, 51 Avenue Road. To protect the victims that have registered with us, I am unable to include any names as the previous case files are confidential. However, I have my manager's permission to include other details, as we have a duty of care within the community. I remember the first lady that came to us who moved into your home was 10 years ago. She suffered terrible abuse from her husband, who never laid a hand on her before they moved in. And after a few weeks after settling down in their new home, he suddenly began to be violent towards her. Sadly, they split up and went their separate ways. The second couple, a young man, came to us some 5 years later, and at the time your 51 Avenue Road address didn't register to us. The man was such a lovely person. I only met him once. He never returned, but I found out his husband was prosecuted and got a prison sentence for regularly beating him up. Then the couple before you, I only interviewed the girlfriend the one time because she never returned for our next appointment, because her boyfriend murdered her. He was known to also be the perfect boyfriend, no police record. He had never hit a woman in his life until they moved into number 51. I'm sure you understand why I had to communicate to you through this letter. Because of the negative energy in the home that you live in, you and Jackie need to move out from your home, as there have been several violent episodes over 10 years between 4 couples. All evidence suggests that the aggressive, violent pattern of behaviour have been instigated by all 4 men. Please be reassured I have also sent a copy of this letter to your partner Jackie. in the hope that you have enough time to heal and work towards your futures away from number 51 Avenue Road. Yours sincerely, Erica. Now I see the truth. This kind stranger has put the weird puzzle pieces together. The traffic in my head has died down, and now everything's clear. We have to move and never return. I am going to burn this building to the ground. It's not a home. There's something so bad here, and only now I can really feel it. It is here in the room with me. What happened here? What is it here that's making men violent towards their partners? Come to think of it, I don't want to know. Right now, all I want to know is, can the wounds of my relationship with Jackie be healed? The test now is, when we are away from this house, will the violent urges stop once I move out? Or will the evil remain with me forever?